Hi, everybody. This is Steve Austin again on Tuesday, August the 2nd, 2016. Coming to you live here on the airnetwork.net tonight, talking a little bit about what's happening in our lives, what might be happening in your neighborhood or perhaps in the nation. Of course, some of the crazy stuff that's going on during these political campaigns. I'm watching this presidency over the last 7 years of Obama. Of course, everybody jagged up about Obama back in 2008. Interesting, young, dynamic speaker, articulate, intelligent, regardless of the guy's skin color or where he came from. If he's an American, I'm buying this because I'm like, this guy is saying something that we need to hear. We had just suffered through the pangs of war, never actually debated as a war, but of course we had been bombing all the Afghanis, Palestinians, Iraqis, oftentimes thinking about the Iranis. We couldn't even go into Saudi Arabia. That's where all the oil was. However, those people were so powerful and rich that, the Bush administration decided, well, we'll leave them alone for now, because we need to utilize the resources, understandably. However, by the time George W. Bush was all finished, said and done, everything was like in shambles. We were bailing out banks, insurance companies, car dealerships shriveled up. If you remember, in your neighborhood, there was probably a Dodge dealership and somebody selling Chevys, Fords. Now you see this amalgamation of all these dealerships in one. And it's not a political thing necessarily, but it's because of money and people who are connected to people. And also, we watched the Tea Party emerge as basically another political party in America back in the mid-2000s. And, of course, as a result, because of them, nothing has gotten done in Congress or the Senate for many, many years thereafter. And now you have a situation that's even worse. You have this guy who is a political pundit, for lack of words, who basically is going to do everything on his own. He doesn't need you. He doesn't need taxpayers. He doesn't need, because he's got money. He doesn't have Warren Buffett money, but he's got some money, and he says he's going to build stuff like the wall. But he's not specific. Is he going to build the economy? Is he going to help out his neighbor? Is he going to help out anyone other than himself? And therein lies the problem. And I don't even want to mention his name, but I will. Donald J. Trump. I go back to when I first became aware of this guy back in the 70s, 80s. You remember the USFL. That was the United States Football League, who at the time, they were making a little noise against the NFL. They were playing their own season, however. Their season was in the spring. The NFL was in the fall and winter. And, of course, enter this rich, brash guy out of New York who was, at the time, taking money from his father and basically refinancing properties and building his dynasty. His name was Donald J. Trump. And Trump at the time, we kind of watched him and watched him create things and grow. But we didn't know at the same time that the architect's engineers and all the people actually building these buildings weren't getting paid dollar for dollar. But he had an interesting scheme. He was a fast talker. You can go to New York and find fast talkers everywhere on every street, no matter what borough it is of New York. The city is huge. Not to mention, it's not like a small town like yours, where the town drunk, and he's got an answer for everything. Well, basically, we've fast-forwarded to 2016. We have the same situation, although, and I understand that there are people that believe in making a change, and they want to see a change. They want to see a political change, but they don't go back to Washington to make the change within Congress and the Senate. They want to change the presidency. Now, Obama is on his way out. There's no doubt. He's done some good things. He's like every other president. You know, there's some guys I didn't vote for, and I'm not going to belabor the point. I went through 8 years of hell, but I supported my president. It didn't matter whether it was Reagan, Carter. It could have been Gerald Ford, any one of the Bush brothers, Clinton. They were my president. They were not necessarily in charge of the country because, again, remember, they work for us. It's not the other way around. We don't work for them. Now, having said that, fast forward to 2016. We have a political campaign going on one side where, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. I'll do this on my own, with a guy who is narcissistic, who is like a 9-year-old juvenile, who basically has no answers, but he's going to take care of it. And there are some people that actually are following him, and that's all right, because you know what? You get what you deserve. We had a situation, 9/11. We got what we deserved. We deserve that. You don't pound people in their countries for years, and then their children grow up without their fathers and their mothers and their families and think that you're going to get away with it. It's biblical. It is spiritual. It is supposed to happen. It will continue to happen. You know, some people are worried about ISIS or ISIL. Well, they don't have a country. They're an amalgamation of people who believe the same thing in the Middle East, and that is to take down the Western frontier. Sort of like the Cowboys and the Indians. You know, we watched the movies when we were kids. I don't remember the Indians ever winning anything. And although they were probably, well, they were here first, they would lead us to believe that for some reason they were doing something ill and against American policy. And although we should move in and, you know, destroy the Indian nation, and if we couldn't do it physically, we would do it mentally. And we also did it through alcohol and drugs and putting people on reservations and sort of like retaining them in certain areas and not giving them. It almost reminds you of segregation. So, you know, I understand there are people who are ignorant to the fact that have no idea what is happening in the current day situation. And that's all right. And I know there are people that are not going to speak up against it because they really aren't educated to it, so they can't really articulate what it is, so they let somebody speak for them. And I just have to believe that the person that might be speaking on behalf of you, whether it's Hillary or Donald J. Trump, may not be getting the message across to their constituents, may be leading them down the path of hell. And that's all right because, see, you asked for it. That's what you wanted. No, you seriously wanted that. And I watched these people on television. Well, just last night, a lady stood up in a crowd somewhere at a Republican rally, and she asked a question. And she was a mother of a Marine, I believe, or somebody in the Army. And she was trying to speak to the fact that her son was fighting a war, but she wanted to ask a question of Trump about the Khan family. Okay, the Muslim family whose son lost his life and is buried in Arlington Cemetery, as many Muslims are, and Christians and Jews and people of different persuasions. They're Americans. And the people booed her off the stage. You're talking about a mother of a current soldier. Not to mention mothers who are Gold Star mothers who have lost their children. For some reason, there are some people who are against that too. Oh, he didn't die enough. Well, hell, you only die once, so your grandchild or your little daughter or perhaps your son will be the next one taken. And we'll see how that works out. Seriously, I think by November, we'll have a pretty good idea of how this country is going to roll. And the reality is, And you probably have your own ideas. You have your own educational background, the way you were brought up. It's just like a Muslim child was acclimated to their religion, or a Baptist or a Methodist or Catholic kid. You know, when you're brought up in that system, that's what you believe until, well, maybe you explore it for yourself. But there are some people out here who are just dead set against not learning anything on their own. They'll take the word of anybody that they can embrace, or anybody who might have an idea other than the popular idea, and follow that. Now, I'd like to think that I'm apolitical, meaning I could be a Democrat or Republican. I could be independent. It doesn't matter. I vote for the person. I would hope that most people do. But I vote with my own values and morals on what I was taught. And basically, I was taught the American way. I believe in the Constitution. And as the man said on the stage on Friday night, Donald Trump, have you ever read the Constitution? Has Hillary ever read it? I mean, have you ever read it? Do you understand what the Constitution says? What rights you truly have being an American? And so if we don't do anything else, we really need to unify as one people under God. Now, if you believe in Allah or Buddha, or if you're Hindu and you believe in some other character of spirituality, well, that's all right. You have the right in America to believe that, but the reality is everybody doesn't look like you and everybody doesn't think like you. And they're not going to, whether it's this year or 4 years from now or 8 years from now or 10 years from now. But I tell you what, your children are watching this very closely. And they're going to base their future decisions, or not, on how you react and how your family reacts, how their grandparents react. Their grandparents are going to be dead. I'm a grandparent. I'm not going to be around 40 years from now. So my grandchildren, I have 2 of them, are watching me. And they're taking a cue from me on how I react to what's going on now. And based on that and their own information as they grow older, they'll make a decision. If you teach them love, that's a good start. If you teach them peace, that's a good start. If you teach them integration and unity, that's always a good start. But for the life of me, I can't believe that people would actually stand up like they did last night at that rally and boo a woman whose child is a military man fighting for our rights. Now, if you want to exclude yourself, go ahead. Move on to another country. Go to Canada. Go to Mexico. Hey, matter of fact, go to Venezuela right now and see how that's working out. If you're so smart and you don't believe that, for instance, Mr. Buffett, Warren Buffett, might not be smarter than most people, or Mark Cuban, or I can give you probably 10 people in my hometown that are smarter than Hillary Clinton or even Donald J. Trump. I'm not buying what they're selling. I don't need snake oil. So you have to discern for yourself what is important and what's real. And all I'm saying, between now and November, it's not a matter of voting with your heart or your head. It's like, how educated are you? How ignorant are you? See, the ignorant folks will follow those ignorant leaders. That's how it works. They followed Hitler. And I'm not making any kind of analogy here that we might have a Hitler on our hands. But remember what I said at the beginning. You get what it is that you hoped for. We deserved things that happened. We're going to see more of it. There are going to be battles in the streets. There are going to be disagreements. There will be people who will die. Hopefully, it won't be anybody in your family, but if it is, remember where they got that. Remember where your heart is. If your heart is in the wrong place, well, they may be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you can kiss them goodbye. I hate going to funerals. I mean, I truly do hate going to those. And I've had to say goodbye in many instances when, in fact, it could have been avoided. But here again, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you believe in the Bible, the holy word of God, as a final authority, then you know, and even in the Quran, yeah, heads do get taken off and have been taken off. And some people subscribe to that truly and totally. So if you're a young child, let's say you have a 10-year-old daughter and her head gets knocked off, don't be surprised. It's just that she didn't know it because you were ignorant to the fact and you didn't educate her. And I think that's part of our jobs, is to alert our children to those devastating downfalls that may be clearly in our path. I'd like to think that I'm a watchful person. Matter of fact, my first name indicates that in the Bible. The name Gregory is watchful, and also is someone who will alarm the others. And so if I don't say anything else, I would hope that you get the drift. That, yeah, we are due some things, and they're coming. And yeah, it may be you, it may be your family, it may be those children that we are talking about, or my children, unfortunately. But you know, if you don't train them up in the way they should go, well, guess what? Don't be surprised. That's basically all I got to say tonight. And we'll talk more about that stuff down the road. Peace.